I've found a rusty hammer out in the wild. And by found out in the wild, I mean left it in my garden 2 years ago. And boy, it is rusty. Now, as many of you know, I've got an ultrasonic cleaner. And I was wondering what would happen if I put this here rusty hammer into the ultrasonic cleaner. I actually don't know. But we're going to find out together. And we're going to find out. Wait for it. 3, 2, 1, right now.
Mark fixes stuff. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. You can get an instant quote on a variety of services, or browse a library of talented makers' designs, add them to your cart, and have them delivered directly to your door.
I'm no stranger to the power of ultrasonic cleaning. I've heard tales that it can remove rust from stubborn surfaces. And I've heard legends of special magical solutions. But I don't have any of those, so we're just going to use tap water. This hammer is absolutely rotten though, so I can't really see it being saved. I'll save this though. People will often say to me, Mark, why don't you throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner? But unfortunately, it's not that easy for me. It's chuffing huge. And it takes quite some filling. I've just noticed that there's a tear in my control panel sticker. That's going to annoy me for the rest of my days. So, inside we have got what looks like a chip basket and a massive volume inside which must be filled almost to the top, otherwise it will destroy the transducers mounted on the bottom of the metal tank. I've not used this for so long that it's actually built up its own collection of dust bunnies. We better clean those out because we don't want to add to the grit, the grot and the grime. Out you come, Mr. Bunny. I'm so glad I've got the battery powered bench vac for items like this, although it does come with the magical charger which disappears whenever your battery goes flat. And at this point it'd be a wise move to make sure the outlet valve is closed before we start filling the tank. Like I said earlier, we're going to use plain tap water for this. Now a lot of purists will be getting upset. They'll be saying that I should be using distilled water. Distilled water doesn't have the contaminants that you find in tap water. But I've got to be honest, once I put that hammer in, it's going to be contaminated anyway. What it will mean is that the degassing process will take slightly longer. And for anybody watching this pouring section, I hope you went before you started the video, or at least tried before we left. With an ultrasonic cleaner you have to make sure that the tank is majority filled, otherwise the transducers that vibrate don't have a large enough body of fluid to absorb their vibrations. They overheat, and that can kill them. Now the water's out of the way, let's plug it in. This ultrasonic cleaner has a heater and a timer. As we power it on, we can see that its temperature is 36 degrees. That's because I used some warm water to fill the tank, saving us some valuable heating time. Before we turn on the heater, it's good practice to put on the lid. That stops the heat escaping, and power is money. Or is it money is power? Probably both. Let's pop on the heater. We can see it's going to take a while, but this blue light says the heating element is on. And with the magic of editing, it's 50 degrees in the tank. It's very hot on top, and by lifting the lid, we can see it's very, very steamy indeed, matron. In fact, as I lift the lid, I'm starting to realise it might be a bit difficult to film this process. Oh well, let's go for it. As if by narrative magic, some bubbles have formed in the tank. This is the gas inside the fluid which actually gets in the way of the process called cavitation. We need to get rid of these bubbles by doing some outgassing. And outgassing just means running the ultrasonic cleaner for about 5 to 10 minutes. It's incredible to watch and difficult to show on the video, but these bubbles are actually suspended mid-liquid. As a bonus for the video, I've actually found this massive bag of white powder underneath my workbench. If you know, you know. And if you do know, it's citric acid. I bought this bag so I could descale my kettle without using that smelly chemical. But I've actually been told that it can help in the process of ultrasonic cleaning. So let's just tip a ton in and see what happens. If you're starting to get the impression that I might be flying by the seat of my pants in this video, you'd be correct. At the end of the outgassing, there's a bit of citric acid left on the bottom of the tank, so I give it a bit of a stir. Perfect. It's now time to replace the ultrasonic cleaner's metal basket. This basket is incredibly important. You mustn't have anything that touches the walls of the ultrasonic cleaner. In fact, the basket even has special rubber feet for that reason. And with the basket in place, it's time to place our hammer in the basket. Honestly, I have fairly low expectations of anything coming out of this basket, apart from a hammer that's still rusty. But we'll find out. And we turn the ultrasonic cleaner on, and not a great deal appears to happen, but then I see the water around the hammer start to turn a dull and rusty orange. Bubbles start to form, and rust starts to lift off of the hammer. After about 3 minutes, we can start to see some of the metal underneath becoming apparent, and we can see the 340 gram weight marking being revealed. At the 7-minute mark, I'm starting to see quite a lot of metal, and I'm starting to get excited. Yes, I know that's quite sad, but how does this work? At the core of ultrasonic cleaning lies the bubble. In fact, lies myriad bubbles. These bubbles emerge from sound waves moving through water, in a process known as cavitation. Cavitation simply refers to the formation of bubbles, i.e. a cavity, within the water. And at the 10-minute mark, our first session is done. And if I'm honest, it's still a pretty rusty hammer. But that being said, it's a lot less rusty than it was when it went in. I'm a bit shocked. The rust that's still remaining looks like it's permanently embedded into the hammer, so I'm wondering if we can remove any more than this. And whilst this is an impressive result, it's not quite the miracle that's been touted by ultrasonic cleaner makers. Let's give it another go. Only this time I'm standing the hammer on its end, to see if a different angle helps. And I'm not sure if that was what did it, but an incredible amount of stuff then started coming off of the hammerhead. Actual plumes of rust start coming off in clouds. Now, the one thing that can't be said about ultrasonic cleaners is that they produce a pleasant noise, so for the sake of my neighbour's sanity, I decide to call it a night. I left the hammer in the fluid so that the very next morning we'd be ready to go with the touch of a button. And when we touched the button, the effect was incredible. Now, I'm not sure whether leaving it in a bath of citric acid overnight just built some stuff up that was then shaken off, or whether the water and citric acid got into the remaining rust. But firing it up in the morning really had a dramatic effect on the hammer itself. After around 37 minutes of ultrasonic cleaning in total, as well as an overnight soak, I decide it's time to take it out of the ultrasonic cleaner, and I'm frankly shocked. Whilst the hammer isn't shiny, all the rust is actually gone, and some areas of the metal look different. I assume that's due to hardening or heat treatment. Let's get rid of the ultrasonic cleaner and see what we have. One hammer. Not as shiny as I would have hoped, but certainly rust-free. And now I'm wondering if we can polish it, because of course I am. Look at the results though. When you consider this had loads of embedded rust all over it, it's almost beyond comprehension that the rust has gone. What started as a "what would happen if" video has actually started giving me ideas on how to clean up some of the rusted parts on consoles and computers. I've also noticed there's some kind of surface coating, and I can't help myself. I think I'm going to have to try and polish this up. Not with kitchen towel though. Looking around the rest of the hammer, the results are equally impressive. It really has got into all the nooks and crannies. And look, I couldn't even see in there before. Does anybody know why my tip is a different colour? Answers in the comment section below, please. Okay, stupid polishing time. Let's use the Dremel. And I've got some polishing bits in here that I never ever get to use. I think that we'll use this one, which is kind of a hard, gritty rubber. And initially things are going fantastic. I can't believe it. I'm capturing all this amazing footage for the video. Look how shiny it's coming up. And then disaster strikes. Because the top layer of the rubber wears away. And I just end up, well, drawing with rubber all over the hammer. Darn it. Next, I try some all-purpose metal polish. I've used this on things like the metal shielding inside the Mega CD1, some parts of my Tatting Einstein, and some other retro machines. I've always got really good results. Unfortunately, I forgot to let it dry to a mist here. Although that being said, the bit that I did polish came out really well. Ignore me melting a bit of the handle here. Whoopsie. So that's me trying to polish that side, and just as a reminder, this is the unpolished side. It's pretty incredible to think how rusty this was in the beginning, and how much the ultrasonic cleaner alone took off. Now it would be easy to be lazy and leave it at that, but I thought I'd go the whole way and polish the whole thing up. Yes, this hammer cost about £4 from one of the budget supermarkets. But by doing this kind of experiment on relatively low value items, it helps hone my skills for when I'm working on more precious things. This started as a pretty silly video, but I have to say I'm really pleased with how this hammer came out. I never would have believed that an ultrasonic cleaner could make such a difference, along with the polishing of course. But that rust removal was frankly incredible. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my amazing patrons who are appearing on the screen right now. You can become a patron yourself and help me make more content by visiting www.patreon.com/MarkFixesStuff. Patrons get ad-free early access to all my videos, as well as videos from behind the scenes and a patron vlog. You'll also gain the ability to leap tall buildings with a single bound. That bit might not be true. Thank you for watching. Seeing as you've watched this far, why don't you go and watch one of these other videos by Mark Fixes Stuff? Go on. You know you want to.